welcome back to Sticks and Strings. I'm Naomi.
I'm Beth.
I'm Eve.
Happy
This
New
is Nomi.
Year. That's Nomi. Also Nomi. So cute. I was looking at that when I walked in. It's so cute. Happy New Year. We're in 2024, 100%.
Yes.
It's, what is it? Today's the 6th?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're almost a full week in, and I've got plans. And also, my baby's going home on Monday, so I'm getting sad. I just pulled my needle out of my stitches. That's great. Okay, I'm going to go first, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
The very first thing I want to do is say, I finished your socks.
Ah,
These are little shorty socks I made for Beth.
good, because my feet are kind of freezing.
They have a heel tab on them. This is what I made for Eve as well, in her little tealy color. And
They're very comfortable.
and they have a deep heel, deeper than like the other socks I usually make, so that it stays on better. Got a little shorty tab there to keep it on your heel, and just a regular toe. I guessed at the size. I just made it generic, so I assume because you have smaller feet than me, right?
Slightly, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, because I have big,
Yeah.
fat, wide feet, so this should work.
You have hobbit feet.
I do. So anyway, this should fit you, I hope. I tried them on. I put them both on.
Yeah.
So used sock. No, I do that just to make sure,
Yeah.
like it fits. If it fits my foot, it'll fit almost anyone's foot. So there you go. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas, finally.
Thank you.
And
What I got for Christmas.
so I did those, and then I took my kitchen sock factory down. Give Mark this kitchen back, but anyway.
Is it really Mark's kitchen?
Well, you know what I mean. That's his breakfast bar where I had the knitting machine. Is where he always sits for breakfast. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll do it. Anyway, the other thing I've been working on is my Musselburgh hat, which, oh man, I just pulled stitches out again. Hold on.
That's what you get for talking.
That's what I get for trying to pull on it to spread it out. Okay, hold on. Here's the progress on my hat. It's actually starting to full on stripe now, instead of how before it was. Oh man, it was like kind of, it was pooling on the top here, but now it's full on striping, so it's nice. So it'll be striped the whole way because that's how the yarn was dyed. It's kind of cool. Anyway, so I think I explained this. You just make a big tube and close it at both ends and then push it inside itself. It becomes a double thick hat. And I was walking to work the other day and I was like, people say it's not cold enough in Phoenix for a hat, but I was cold and I was like,
That downtown Phoenix gets that,
it's
just kind of like the
gale
canyon,
wind.
like
Yeah.
the canyon back
Yeah.
home.
It gets cold in there. And so anyway, I was like,
Well, it's like it was only 39 degrees this morning.
this morning there was,
Yeah.
I was worried that it froze last night because there was frost on all the roofs of all the houses. So it gets cold here. And we went to sit out at the fire the other night. Mark made a fire and it was cold outside. So I put my little hat on that I got in Taos, and I'm like, yeah, we need hats. Hats are good. So anyway, that's my hat. And the other thing that I decided to do, I think I talked about it a little last week, was I decided to revisit the Master Hand Knitter program. I couldn't remember when I talked about it last week when I had done it. I thought it was years and years and years ago.
It was last year, wasn't it?
No, it was 21. I started it in March of 21.
Oh.
And that's around the time that I got kind of sick as well. So I didn't do very much. I went to a conference in April, and then after that I kind of just fizzled. And so I was thinking about my long-term goals in my life, and I'm like, I want to do this program. It takes about 3 years. And then there's also a tech editor certification that you can do. I could do that now instead of doing this, but I think I really want to do this. And the tech editor certification, once you're done with that and you're certified, the Knitting Guild Association puts you on their Ravelry and on their website and everything, so that you're then certified to do tech editing for designers, which is a job. And so I'm like, that would be really great. So that's probably about 5 years away. So I thought, okay, that's a good goal. So anyway, so I re-signed up for the Knitting Guild Association membership, and I got my updated materials. So here's my notebook. I probably talked about this on our thing. I mean, here,
Yes,
back
you
in
did.
21. But I re-downloaded all the materials because they change them every few years. It was only $10. I didn't have to pay the whole. It's like $100 to do the program, and that just covers shipping and stuff. Because what you do is you go through the packet and you make swatches according to instructions, and you're showing that you can do basic stitches and that they all look all the different types of stitches look standard, you know. And you then put all the swatches in a notebook and you send it off, and they evaluate it, and then they send it back. And so so that money, because it's like different committee members, and so that one person reviews it and then they send it to another one and they review it, and like that. So that's what all that, it's like $105 or something. Anyway, so I re-downloaded it and I started reading it last night and this morning, and I was like, there's a lot of work. But I thought, it's good, and it's I feel more. Well, in 21, I was kind of nuts. I was like, 21 was a hard year for me. So now I feel more centered. I have like some goals in mind for my life in general.
The spring of 21 was really hard for you.
Yeah, I got really sick, and so no wonder I didn't go anywhere with this. I had to take care of myself. But now I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, and with some goals in mind, and just slow and steady study, because it's going to take a long time. I remember I did the first swatch, which is so you do swatches, right? So you do.
I remember you doing that. Yeah.
You do like a gauge swatch first, and then you do a stockinette, and then you do a ribbing, and then you do, increases and decreases, and making everything look right. And it's all in little pieces like this. But, and then you have to block them all. And you have to write a report about blocking. And I had started a little bit. What's nice, so one favor 2021 me did not do was write down the password to my Knitting Guild Association. So I got in and I could not remember my password. Anyway, but one thing that 2021 me did do was I made notes like in here because these are really detailed instructions, and so I put everything in Page Protector, right? And then you can't see, this is a notebook piece of paper, and I basically summarized the instructions on here, so I could like bullet point, like, okay, do this, do this, do this. And then the full information is here, but it just helps me think a little better. And like for the blocking, you have to do a report on blocking, which is how you finish a piece of knitwork. I've talked about that. Like you can do wet blocking or steam blocking. And so the report wants you to talk about why you block and what's the importance of it and all the different ways you do it and which fibers do better with which method, blah, blah, blah. So that's all in here. But then I just made an actual outline for myself on a piece of notebook paper back in 21. That I did do, and that was smart of me. So I was like, oh, look at all this work I've already done. So I feel good, and I feel excited to get it done. And the people, I will say, the people who run the Knitting Guild Association, the National Knitting Guild Association, are so nice and responsive. And like yesterday I went to reestablish my membership, because you have to be a member. It's like $35 a year. And then I wasn't quite sure if I had to pay for the whole course again, because I'd gone beyond the time limit. It's like, I think it's like 18 months. And I thought it was much longer ago. But anyway, it's like 18 months. And I thought I had to pay for the whole program again. Mm-hmm. And it said something, there was like an email if you had questions. So I emailed and I said, I got these materials in March of 21 and I want to I didn't do it, right? Yeah. And I want to start over. Do I need to pay for the whole thing? I said, I'm assuming so, but I wanted to check before I do it. She wrote back, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm glad you emailed, because no, you don't. Just go to this, click here and get the updated things. Because if you take too long, they come out with a new version and you have to get the updated version to make sure you're doing everything right. But she goes, click here, and it was only $10 to get the updated version. And she goes, and when you submit, because you initially started the program in March of 21, you have to do an extension submission, which is only $25. So for $35, I say, I'd pay $35, but I didn't have to pay another $100. Yeah. So that's nice. And they were so responsive and so nice. And I guess once you become a master hand knitter, if they really like you and you're really good at what you're doing, like you show that you're smart and capable and everything, I guess you can be asked to be on the committee to evaluate the knitting. I'm like, ooh, that'd be fun. It's totally volunteer. It's not a job. But anyway, so this is what I've been doing with my spare time, is studying this. And
you have spare time?
Well, like this morning, I was reading. Yeah, I do have spare time. Last night, instead of knitting, I was reading my materials. So I'm like, I had put in here a 21-22 calendar book that had hole punches, so I had it in here. And I had mapped out 3 swatches a month, to try to do it. And I was like, I don't know if that's wise, or if I should just basically dedicate Saturdays to it or something, and just do however many I can. I don't know. The problem is you can't just knit a swatch. You have to look up 2 techniques for each swatch, at least 2. They have to be, one has to be written and one can be a video, or both can be written. And then you have to keep track of your references. So even to knit a stockinette swatch, which is just plain knitting, I have to look up 2 references to say how to knit stockinette stitch. And then I have to, there's questions for every swatch. So I also have to answer those questions with each swatch as I'm knitting it. So you have to have your long-term goals in mind, and then you have to research the blocking before you block all your swatches. So it's like you can't just knit the swatch. You have to
show your
plan for it, show your work. Exactly. You have to show your proof, right? So it's a little bit daunting, but I'm excited about it.
You can kind of understand though, because if they want to say they're the knitting guild, right? And they have members who are theoretically helping people who are actually not doing it right.
Right.
That looks bad for them.
Well, that
and they want to know that your projects are coming out good if you're helping people or
right. If they're going to certify you as a master hand knitter, you have to show that.
But when you were talking about how nice and responsive and stuff like that they are, I thought about all of the people who talk about people in cross stitch, about how accepting they are of other people, and they are helpful to those that are learning. They don't try to make anybody feel stupid. The ones I've encountered. I have never encountered anybody that is trying to make people feel less than. And in our society today, that is unusual.
Well, and like this says, like you have to be able to take critique, and I think that's where a lot of people maybe that don't like it, because you have to realize that you're going to submit these swatches, and they're going to come back and say, well, you have this here and that there, and you have to redo it. So once you submit it, they send some back and say, redo swatch number,
So
blah, blah, blah.
when I was in art school, my art school, there several different, it wasn't like a university, it was an art school. And in the drawing class, we had to draw whatever assignment it was, and then it was put up on the wall, and we had to critique each person's work, and we were asked to critique it. But one of the guidelines was, don't say anything if you don't have a helpful suggestion. You can't just say, I don't like it.
Right.
You have to say, you know, maybe thicker lines, or, you know, the shape.
Or I can't see that color.
Well, it was usually black and white, but and it teaches you to give constructive criticism,
And to take it.
and B, to teach yourself to hear critique as help, rather than
Well, and also to think about, like, the person who's doing the critiquing, to think of something, to look at it and see what needs to be done, or what should be done. Yeah.
well,
Improvements rather than just...
and people couldn't understand why the objects that we were being asked to draw were not things that most artists have to draw. Okay, one of them was a spray bottle. Okay, and so she puts this spray bottle, and she says, okay, now you need to draw this, and it needs to have shading and all that other stuff. Draw it like you were drawing it for you know, a competition or something.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you had somebody who didn't look like a spray bottle, you had to critique it in a manner of, does it not look like a spray bottle on purpose?
Right.
Are you Picasso?
Right.
Or is that a flaw in your hand-eye coordination, that you're seeing something different than we're seeing? And
Well, it's different from make this drawing look realistic, or do an interpretation of a spray bottle.
right.
You know.
And so,
But-
and I actually still have quite a few of the drawings I made in that drawing class.
Yeah.
And the reason that I have them is because I love them.
Yeah.
But
But the thing about, I guess, that's different with it's the same principle, right? You have to know the rules before you can violate the rules. And I think the Master Hand Knitter program, it goes, so in level 1, which this is all the swatching techniques and block, so many of the basic stitches, increases, decreases, ribbing, cables, and that kind of thing, and blocking, and then you have to do a project, which is a mitten. It's a pre-prescribed pattern that you have to do, and there is a little bit of pattern writing in this one, where you have to, for a swatch, you have to write down how you decide, like you have to make your own cable swatch and figure it out. I started to read that this morning, and I was like, that is a subject for later, because it was so kind of confusing. But because it's like you have to have this many repeats of a cable, and you can do it yourself. But I figure by the time you're there, you're able, you know what I mean? Like you've built it up and you can do it. But then at the end of level 3, so there's 3 levels, level 2, you design a couple of projects, or you design a project, and then in level 3, you design 2 projects yourself. One has to be a hat, and one is a sweater, and you design it. One has to be color work, and the other has to be, like, I think, cable. And you design it yourself, you knit it yourself, and that you submit. Like, I'm like, anyway. But so you have to write the pattern in such a way that anybody can pick it up and
knit it.
Mm-hmm. What I don't know is if you have to size it like that. That's a whole other thing. But anyway, so it's really making sure that you are master of this craft. And I'm like, I kind of feel confident about it that I can do this. I think when I put my hand to something and I try it, I learn from my mistakes, and I enjoy actually making mistakes. I don't enjoy it, but you've seen me make mistakes on this channel in live TV. But I mean, nobody enjoys it. But what I mean by that is that I feel like the more mistakes I make, I'm not afraid of it, I guess is what it is. And the more mistakes I make, the absolute more I learn. And then I realized, so the other thing I have to talk about, I'll talk about in stories, but Hannah finished her sweater.
Wow, she's fast.
Yeah. And the thing about it, what did I do here? See, here's a mistake. The thing about it is that when you make mistakes, first of all, the world doesn't come to an end. And second of all, you're just adding to your knowledge. And then you can help someone else. Like I was able to warn Hannah, don't make sure you're not doing XYZ because, XYZ. And so anyway, it's I enjoy it, and I'm excited about this.
Yeah, when I was in college, I took a creative writing class, and one of the things he talked about is also the same way that people would submit. We didn't have any requirements, but like people would submit whatever they had, and so you had all kinds of different genres that people were writing in, and so what they would do is, I guess they would submit whatever they had, and he would make copies for everybody in the class, and we would all read the story, and then we had he would individually take the person like to his desk and talk to them about what the good and bad things of their writing that he found. But then the general class would read the story and then offer criticism. And again, he said, if the minute you say, I don't like westerns or whatever, you don't get to say anything.
That's not the problem I have with critics of movies. I stopped listening to what the critics thought because they don't like science fiction movies. Why are you critiquing it?
Yeah.
But so yeah, it was, if you could say, I didn't understand what was going on here, or this wasn't clear, or something like that, but you couldn't say, I don't like this kind of story, so I don't,
Right.
Yeah. But also it reminded me of one time when I used to work in Little Rock, there was a time when when I worked at Family Life, and this one girl, I don't know what her connection was to whoever, but we had a meeting, a work meeting, and she was playing some song on the guitar as part of the whatever was going on in this meeting was about. But it was like, for one thing, she had something about playing like being barefooted when she was something. But so she was sitting kind of like on the floor of the little stage area, I guess, and she was playing this thing, and it was like some weird song. I was like, what is up? And I'm thinking, did anybody listen to her playing and sing, to see if she could actually play or what? It was just like, I was kind of shocked that it was like, it felt very unvetted, like nobody made sure that she could do what she was going to do or whatever, you know. That, you know, that kind of like, I don't know. Because, you know, it's a different thing between whether or not you like the song that she was singing, whatever. But it was a question of, can she really actually play this music?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the kind of thing that yeah, you don't want somebody telling someone else how to do something if they don't know how to do it themselves. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Can I go next?
Yeah.
Because I barely have anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did something weird in my house.
So I.
And you want to be a guild member.
Sorry.
I just made a mess with thread, so just a second. You know, with DMC thread, if you pull from the side that has the numbers, it should knot up. The big word being shouldn't. And I just pulled it, and half the skein came out instead of what was supposed to. So, what was that thing about pulling a thread and then you've started a whole problem?
Pulling at threads.
So, right now, I am working on Cross Stitching for Fun's Black Cat, which I call Art Deco Cat because I have another pattern named Black Cat. And this is the original, this is what the original looked like. But the pattern designer flipped it for me. Isn't that sweet?
That is sweet.
Isn't that sweet? I just, all of a sudden I said, because I was going to flip it, and I was like, you know, I should just ask. I'll be willing to pay again for the file or whatever. And she did it for free.
Nice.
And, well, she wanted me to. She's a Ukrainian designer, but her partner is a Russian designer. So Etsy closed their shop.
Yeah, I remember.
So they're on some other platform, their shop is, but you can see their designs on Facebook, and they it says there where their shop is. I've never been to their new shop because I'm trying not to buy new patterns. Very hard. I'm trying very hard. It's very, 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 very difficult. Anyway, so this is the original one, which I finished. And I am working on the other one, which is flipped around the other way. And I'm doing it in a slightly different color rather than the same color. And I'm using a variegated thread. And the reason I'm using a variegated thread is because Naomi has 2 variegated cats. And they're orange variegated cats. And one is darker than the other. And that's why
One is faded, as my mother used to say.
that's why I have 2 different colors and one darker than the other for the cats. But they're similar enough that, you know, in the light parts of this darker color, it looks a lot like this color. So that is what I am working on right now, and it is one of my WIP-GO goals for January. 10 days on this, and I've worked on it 1 day so far, so this would be the 2nd day. The other WIP-GO call for January, sorry, I have my stuff piled over here and I can't see around I have a tablet here. I can't see around the tablet. The other WIP-GO call is Star Wars Stormtrooper. And I started this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know. It was going to be a Christmas present for my son. I don't know how many Christmases have gone by since then. And it is still not done. But I have made progress. So I'm working on this side of the Stormtrooper right now. I finished filling in right here. There was a few stitches that I ran out of thread, and so I did that. And I used that same color over here. But that color also goes around this eye. So I did that. And then I'm filling in all the rest of this face over here before I try to move on to the rest of the helmet.
Does it come with kit threads?
Yes. So the kit threads are on, they're on a card, but they're like glued in. And even though it's a 6-strand thing, like 4 or 5 strands of that color may be glued in there. And you have to snip it off, which means that it is already a particular length, which is why I keep running out in weird spots. On this face thing, I ran out with 3 stitches left to go because the threads are, for me, a little short. I know that you have higher chance of knotting them if they're longer, but because I use the loop method, I want it just a little bit longer. If I was not using the loop method, probably the length of this wouldn't bother me as much. But I've worked on this 4 days, I think, maybe 3. I don't know. But rather than in previous times where I worked on one for half a month and then the other one for half a month to get my 10 days on each of them, I'm just working on them both at the same time, because this one I can take with me anywhere because it's small, and it's in my bag that has, that I can take everywhere. And this one I need my tablet, so it's more difficult to do that with. So, not that I've taken this anywhere, I just worked on it. And then another kit. Where is
Right in front of you.
Loops and threads. And I discovered in the name of this is in the instructions in the pattern. It's called watercolor trees.
Oh, nice.
Right. So when you look at this picture, this outside part is not quite white. So you can see the lightest color.
Uh-huh.
Can you see the lightest color there?
Well, hold it straighter. Back it, yeah, with the light on it. A little bit, kinda.
Yeah, I can't. It is
We
my
know how
lot
you
in
love
life.
white on white on white on white.
It is my lot in life. Oh, yeah, the Stormtrooper has it too. Everything around the outside is like basically white
Why do they do
and
that?
white.
Because it's white is cheap.
That's why. Well, it's not actually white. It's just very close to white. So,
But I mean, the white Ada is,
Oh
it's the cheapest
no, but
thing
I guess what I mean is, why, if you're gonna show it on white or give it a key, why put white thread in it at all? Like, just don't put it there.
okay, so this very lightest color, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it in the picture, but this very lightest color, they're half threads. And so is the color down here that you can actually see. And I had in this whole thing and down here, and I was like ready to, really go town on it. And I realized it was in the wrong spot.
Love. That is your lot in life.
Yes. And I almost fudged it. But since it has interwoven stuff in it, I was afraid of the ramifications that I would run into.
Yeah.
So I just said, whatever, I'll take it out. But taking out half stitches is quite a bit easier than taking out full stitches. So I decided to put the dark color in I put the light color in until I had a space to put in the dark color. And then I put in the darker color so that it's easier for me to go around to tell where that is. And part of that happens in this one. Part of that happened because I'm going up from the middle and then I want to get to the top and then go down.
Yeah.
So I counted up, but I didn't count over enough,
Count twice, cuss once.
Well, yeah, except I did count it more than once, but
And you cussed more than once.
oh yeah. But that's the problem with a middle start. And and but this pattern does not lend itself toward doing a right hand start because there's no
Yeah.
there's no easy where do I start?
Yeah.
I could have, I suppose, started in the middle on the top, kind of,
Yeah.
maybe. But, it'll be all right. I started in the middle, and this tree top right here is this one.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of distance. I guess they knew I needed two inches. I don't know. Anyway,
I figured out
that's
what I'm
watercolor
doing.
trees.
Sorry, I figured out what it is I'm doing wrong.
Why you keep dropping stitches?
Yeah. Because this yarn is so little and the needles are little, it curls around the needle a little bit, and I think what I'm doing sometimes unbeknownst is I'm trying to get the stitch on the needle, but I'm grabbing the one right below and knitting them together like that, and that's creating it's kind of like a brioche stitch, but I don't know how I'm going to fix this because I don't really have space. Anyway, and then I see one here just a few rows down that's all messed up. Oh, I see. I did it right here. Anyway, that's fun.
And the other thing I worked on was the strawberry berry from the Strawberry Basket hands-on design. It's so cute.
Well, that's her long pointy beard.
And I kept looking at this because I'm like, am I starting that too high? Should I have more fabric? But when you look at the finished one, you can't see the top pink dots. They're up inside there. So, apparently I'm doing it right. Because from this picture, the topmost thing you can see is the leaves above the strawberries. And that is not the topmost thing on the pattern. But this is where I am.
Cute.
So now I'm going to put in the lighter color of the strawberries here. And then the darker color, I guess. There's in here, all along in here and there, not everywhere, there's little blips of like one stitch of brown, and then somewhere else there's a little one stitch of brown, and somewhere else there's and I see them here on the picture down here, but they're not anywhere close to each other. And so I'd have to do, I think I would have to do one of those stitches where you just do one stitch and anchor it. And
pin
then,
stitch?
Huh?
A pin stitch?
Yeah. And
I'm really bad I don't do those very often, and so I'm really bad at them.
I've done them several times, and they're not difficult, but I would much rather not have to do that.
I carry the threads.
Well, yeah, but it's carrying it quite a distance. If it weren't carrying it so far. Look, these two are close together, but then the next one is way over here.
Well, in that case, what I usually do is just anchor it, do this first and anchor it there. So,
but what I'm saying is
Yeah.
it would be easier if I just did a pin stitch on all of those. I just dropped my phone. I am good at dropping things today. Anyway, that's me.
Okay, so, last week I had talked about, I think I was working on the end of my, let me get this gnome out of the way just a little bit.
Sorry.
On I was working on the end of my 2023 stitching because it was still December. I still had a couple days left. So the day on Saturday when we filmed, I was working on the Voyage of Discovery, and I just I worked on a little bit more on Saturday, I think, because I was like looking at the pictures that a picture of the stitching from last week, and I and I had taken the pictures, I guess, as we had finished filming this video, and during my update, I think I said, I was gonna try to do a little bit more work because it was still the 6th day, and so I was looking at the finished stitching and the picture that I'd taken, and I was like, it's like one of those games where you're like, find the difference between these two pictures. And I was like, I can't tell any difference at all. And I know I finally found a couple of areas where I had, put in a few more stitches, but it was like minimal. You can't really tell. So I didn't bother with showing that right now. But one thing I did do was, in meeting my 2023 December WIP-GO goals, I wasn't sure I was going to do it, but I made it in the nick of time because I put these under the book to set, for the glue to set, whatever, right at midnight. So
of the new year.
Of the new year, yeah, of 12/31. I feel like I put the little heavy books on them to.
Then technically it was 24.
Yeah, so I looked at my watch and it was like not quite midnight. It was like 1 minute till or something.
Gosh.
So yeah,
12:59.
I got under the wire.
I mean 11:59.
Yeah,
You're saying that now, but before you said midnight.
Well,
yeah, well, it was not. Like I said, it was.
So
yeah.
So the cross stitch police came in.
Right, ma'am, are you done? Yes, I'm
I
done.
understand you finished that in 2024. It's disqualified.
So this is gathering berries.
Okay.
It's
I was knocking on the table.
This is a Luminous Fiber Arts pattern. I don't remember when it's from, but this is the stitching.
Nice.
I bought this little
Get down.
yarn called Aubergine. Is the color, but I thought it matched pretty well. And I like that sort of rustic look. And
Nice.
she did several other patterns in this series.
So you could hold it this way or this way because the birds.
Well, one thing I had to make sure I was like, I have to make sure I have it right side up, because I did this one berry does hang down, so it was like it wouldn't realistically hang this way. So that's that, and I got this little
You
thing
say that, but are you a farmer?
at Hobby Lobby. I've never seen a berry hang sideways. Yeah, gravity and all that. So it has a little little easel back there. I got this at Hobby Lobby. And I got this also at Hobby Lobby, and I thought, I thought about should I have painted it before whatever, but I don't think so. I finally got to use this green fabric. I have these various like spring things. I've thought, I can use that green fabric to back that, and like it has never looked right. But I kind of like the way it looks here. It looks very springy. So this is Easter Preparation by Twin Peak Primitives, and I did it on this blue fabric. And I remember when I first saw it, I thought I gotta have that, and I just love it. It's a big bunny and he's painting eggs, and then these little mice are bringing in the white eggs, and this mouse is taking away the painted egg. And then I had these little flat eggs that I bought at Hobby Lobby some time ago, and I put them at first just on the four corners of this thing because I think they made this backwards because because this side is obviously the back, right? The little hanger thing is anchored under here, and all that. But the front of this wooden frame thing on the corners here, you could see the staples where they put them together.
Oh,
So I
instead of like this, there you just
right
see the
on this side
corners.
they're nice and smooth, right?
Oh, I
but on
see.
that side they have the staples. So I put the little eggs to cover the staples, and then I just stuck some more on here, glued some more on there. But they're just flat back, so I had to glue them on there. But then around the stitching here, I used this yarn, more yarn called Spa as the color. But I like that very springy color. And
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah. Rogue agrees. She's like, yeah. Come here, Rogue.
So those
No
two
barking. Come here.
are my final FFOs of the year 2023. So then, for my WIP-GO calls for 2024, I had put, I had done several new starts in Romania in May.
Rogue, come here.
And so a lot of them have very minimal starts. But I also put the Rabbit series and things like that. The Rabbits, I started them, all of them, but I only finished the first 3. But so this one, so I just went through and found ones I wanted to work on. So this is October, Rabbit October. So I worked on this actually on January 1st. Because you're supposed to say rabbit on the first day of the month, whatever. So I just grabbed this one and worked on it. And I didn't realize until right now. I thought, this is where I am now. When I first started this, I think I just had like 2 of these rabbits, like I think on this side, this white one and the brown one here, and a little bit of this green, plant leaves or whatever. So I added all the rest of these rabbits so far, and a little bit more of this greenery, and I put this sort of maroon colored flower things on there. And so when I was taking some pictures of this beforehand, and I looked and I was going to take a picture of this pattern, and I thought, wait a minute, those rabbits aren't white. They're kind of, there's a dark brown rabbit and a sort of rust colored rabbit. And so I looked more closely at the little symbol thing, and the white rabbits are supposed to be brick, this color called brick, right? These are silks, Gloriana silks. And I thought, what the heck? And I realized that on this other corner of the cloth, I had this other rabbit here that you can't really see. And that's because this is the rabbit in the brick color. You can't see it. And I had wanted to use this color fabric, and so I had made a decision at the time I started this to make these rabbits white instead of brick colored, because they don't show up on this fabric. But the other colors of the pattern look good on here. So I realized, I had decided to change that color. So, and when last night I was putting in that maroon color. It's called mulled wine, and when I was trying to separate the threads, the one thread I was trying to pull on, was just like shredding, coming apart in pieces, and I was no. I don't know what's up with that, but the rest of it was fine. It was just that one, I don't know. Anyway, so I worked a couple of days, 2 days I think, on what's today, the 6th? Yeah, 2 days on that rabbit. So I'm thinking, I'm trying to look at the rest of the days of the month, because I do have the 2 other WIP-GO. I have 2 other things in my WIP-GO that were called. One is my main square. My main part of the square is the bear from the A Year in the Woods series by Cottage Garden Samplings. So I haven't worked on that at all yet, but it's one of my other WIP-GO calls. So I have kind of like a main project for the on my WIP-GO board that has like the goal of 6 days or 7 days, and then this secondary project, like the rabbit is the secondary project, and it doesn't have any goal requirement or whatever. It's just on the list. So technically, since I've put in a couple of days on that, technically I've met that goal. But what I'm going to do is have my goal of so many days for the main project, and the other one I can just work on at will. So the rabbit, I can do more days on it as I want to. And then my other secondary project along with the bear is Snowy Reindeer, which is a little small, that hopefully I've barely started it, so I can make some good progress. But anyway, my other main WIP-GO call, my first main WIP-GO call that I want to work on was Seahorse Soiree Biscornu by by Heartstring Samplery. Sorry, I meant to say the rabbit is by Ink Circles.
Can I interrupt you?
Mm-hmm.
Eve, do you have any handy crochet hooks?
Not handy.
Okay, never mind.
I know where they are, but they're not handy.
Okay.
So I had started this as part of Mania, and I think I got this at the attic. Yeah, because on the part of the back it has the list of fancy flosses. And when I went to start it, I was looking at the project bag and I had taken all the floss out of it, and I'm like, oh no, because I looked at this and it had a very minimal start. It had this part of the wave, the water here, and it had this little, what I thought was just a blob. I couldn't tell just by looking at it what it was. And I couldn't tell also, did I use the fancy floss on that? Did I use a DMC conversion? Because there was nothing in the bag to tell me. So I was looking at my fancy flosses and looking at the key, this pattern, and it was like they were all there. I had them all, and and I remember now that I had this bundle of all these colors that some of the colors I had already, and then some of the others I bought when I bought the pattern. So they were all there, thankfully. So then I realized this little blob is actually a turtle. So I put his little hands and feet and face in there now. And he's over here. I have his head and feet over here on this side, and part of a mermaid on this side. So I did do, I didn't do the top part of the mermaid, her body or her hair, but I did her fin, and I'm working on a whale right now. So this was my other WIP-GO pull, and the goal is 7 days, and I think I've just done 2 days on it. And I've done 2 days on a secret stitch that I won't talk about. I can't show. But I did a little bit of that. So I've been stitching pretty much every day. This month.
This year.
Yeah, every day.
Every day this year.
Yeah. So that is me. That's all.
All right. So stories. My first story, Hannah finished her sweater, and I have photos. I will show you. Amazing. I'm so proud of her. Because I bought her the yarn, you'll remember, in Boston when I went. And look, that's her wearing it. Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
So here's a picture of her in her red sweater, and here's a picture of it on the hanger. She started.
It looks really comfy.
It's like a little bit of a crop. It's right at her waist.
Uh-huh.
The sleeves are a little long, but it's way better than it being too short.
Yeah.
Than her sleeves being too short. And so she started the first sleeve. I think when she was working on the bottom ribbing, I think, when she started the bottom ribbing when she got here, because she felt like it was the right length, and she borrowed my one of my needles because she had forgotten her ribbing size needle, and so she did the bottom ribbing and she started a sleeve. So she did both sleeves while she was home here. And it was really good because she's leaving Monday, so we were able to block it.
What kind of parents are you making her make her own Christmas present?
I know. I know. Well, it's so funny because she, she's notoriously like impatient to block anything that she's made in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, honey, because this wool is like 100% wool, like the real deal. Like there's no acrylic in it. There's nothing forgiving. And I'm like, you need to. I said, if you spend all this time on this, sorry, my foot is weird. You spend all this time on this sweater, you need to take care of it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked from home on Friday, and wait. I'm trying to think when we. Oh, it was. Was it Thursday night that we? Yeah, Thursday. We washed it. She finished it on Thursday, and I put it in the sink. Oh, that's right, because I hadn't. She's notorious about her ends. She does not want to weave in ends, and I'm like, you need to weave in ends correctly, like master hand knitting. Right? But anyway, I'm like, if you want it to look nice, do everything the right way. So if I'm like, I will weave in your ends for you, and I was supposed to do it Wednesday night and didn't get it done. She had finished it. That's right, she finished it on Wednesday, and I was gonna do the ends for her Wednesday evening. She and her dad played a concert. I couldn't go, but I stayed home and I was going to weave in the ends for her, and I didn't get to it because we made amazing soup. Oh yeah, that's the other thing that happened on Wednesday. On Tuesday night, we had made a chicken enchilada casserole, and to make it, we bought a rotisserie chicken from Costco. So while I was making the casserole, she was cutting up the chicken, and she cut up the 2 cups we needed, and then she's like, she just took all the rest of the meat off to save it. And she goes, we should make a stock. And I'm like, go ahead. I've never made a stock. So she's like, I'm going to make a stock. So she just basically looked in like all my leftover stuff from like Christmas and, whatever. Like I had a bag of carrots and some celery. I'm like, that celery can't be good anymore. She's like, it's fine. So and I had an onion, and so she, on Wednesday, put it in the pot and just let it sit there for 3 hours, and then drained it all. And she had seasoned it. She liked with onions and carrots and celery and bay leaves and salt and pepper and I don't know what else. That stock was amazing. Just drinking it like a tea was so good. So then on Thursday, we were going to make a chicken soup. Oh, no. Wednesday night. That's right. Wednesday night, while they were at the concert, I made the soup. And because she'd gone to the store during the day and gotten, egg noodles and a couple of other things. So I chopped everything up and made soup. And that's what here's a picture of our soup. It was gorgeous. And I only used 6 cups of the broth. And so we got 2 mason jars of broth still. And, or 2.5, I think. Anyway, so that's why I didn't weave in the ends on Wednesday night, because I was making the soup. So Thursday, I can't remember what we had planned that evening, but we wanted to get her sweater. Did
you have a concert? Let me go to the concert?
No, that was Friday night. That was last night. Thursday evening. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, we wanted to get that thing blocked. So I real quick weaved in all the ends, and then we put it in the sink and to soak. And we went to a movie. That's what we did Thursday night. We wanted to get it blocked before we left for the movie. So just she and I went. We went to see the new Studio Ghibli movie. She's turned me on to these. Have you ever seen any of those? They're animations from Japan. Wonderful. They're gorgeous. Anyway, so we put it in the sink, and that yarn bled so bad. The water was like almost immediately pink. I'm like, girl. So she anyway, I'm like, you need to take care of this and probably don't wash it with anything else. I mean, and I said, do not put this in the washer. And she's kind of looking at me like I'm going to put it in the washer. Anyway, and I'm like, if you put this in the washer and dryer, you will have a little booby sweater. Like don't do that. And it'll be made of felt. Like, so we blocked it right before we ran out the door to the movie, and then, and she wore it to the concert last night. It was so good. It's so beautiful. So I'm real proud of her. And she's really proud of herself. And
those natural products, people love the way they feel. Like the cashmeres and
alpaca
and all that. They love the way they feel. But you ain't gonna feel like that if you don't take proper care.
You gotta take really good care of it. So, but I think she's because so then yesterday we went to the yarn shop for a few minutes and she wore it. I mean, you have to wear that. So my friend Amanda, who runs the yarn store, came out and I was like, look, Amanda. So then we were talking about that. And she's like, no, don't. You got to take care of it. So I think she's getting convinced. She's like, I know, I promise I'll take care of it or whatever. Like, you spent so much time on it.
Mm-hmm. The first time she takes one and doesn't take care of it.
I know, she'll learn a very sad lesson.
Then she'll cry on your shoulder and you'll say, and then she'll take care of him after that.
She's like she needs a palette cleanser. She's walking around the yarn store with her eyes all big. And I went to get I forgot to bring it. I went to get my master hand knitting yarn. And my boss gave me cash.
How sweet.
For Christmas. So I'm like, well, this is yarn money. Anyway, so I got it, and I meant to bring it with me. I just got plain white wool and plain, like a contrast light blue kind of wool color for my project. And don't ask me if I already have it in my stash. And I'll slap you if you ask me that. But anyway, so she was walking around trying to figure out what she wanted to make. And
hey, I've bought patterns twice. So
as I recall, you bought a whole bunch of yarn for that the first time.
No, I bought 3 balls of yarn before it. And one of them is like a light pastel purple, which I hated the moment I bought it. And it's wound up in a ball in my closet, and I will probably never use it. So I'll use it for scrap yarn or something. And the other was white. But okay, so here's the thing, is that they really need you to not do superwash. And I have Cascade 220 superwash in my box. And I have the Cascade 220 not superwash that I bought for this project. But I've used a lot of it. And I can't tell them apart.
Mm.
So it'll just be
why
there.
do they care one way or the other?
Superwash yarn acts differently when you block it. And really, to be its full, because superwash wool has had the little scales taken off chemically. And so the yarn doesn't act like normal yarn. It acts more like acrylic yarn, because it doesn't stick together. It's so that you can wash it. Like this is superwash yarn. So this will, I could throw it in the washer and then dry it to a point. Like, you don't want to dry it all the way, but you can dry this stuff because the wool has all of its natural scales off. but non-regular normal wool still has the scales, which is what creates felt and so you can do things like you can spit splice the yarn. Although Hannah said she tried to spit splice and it didn't work. I'm like, she didn't do it all right. And that's where you take two ends of yarn, you wet them. It has to be saliva for some reason, and you wet them, and then you roll them together in your hand like that. Heat and friction and moisture will create felt. So you do that, and then the scales of the wool hook to each other, and then they don't ever let go. So because of that.
So when you do that, do you have to sing that song? Oh no, you never let go.
Yeah. And then, but superwash wool. So if I block regular wool, it adheres to itself. If you wet it and you put it in a shape, it keeps the shape. With superwash, it stretches out, kind of the way like acrylic will or whatever. And to get it to bounce back to its original shape, she's chewing her nails. She's sitting on the couch biting her nails, I think. Anyway,
she's not eating Santa Claus.
Yeah. In order to get it to bounce back to its shape, you kind of actually have to dry it. So that's why they ask you to use non-superwash wool. And I don't remember which ball of white yarn in my box is non-superwash and which is 220 superwash. So we'll just leave them there for whatever. And so that's why
find
I
out
bought
when you
wool.
try to wash them.
Right. That's why I bought wool. But anyway, she was wandering around like, I need a project. And I told her, she was thinking about getting some yarn for like a thin, like a fashion-y kind of scarf. And she's like, but the question is, will I wear it? I'm like, only you can answer that, Hannah. And she's like, I don't know. I want to make something. And I'm like, make a hat. Hats are great palette cleansers. And my friend Amanda was like, yeah, that's exactly right. So then I told her, well, I guess you can go shopping in my box and get some stash yarn. She's like, yeah, you have a lot of yarn. I'm like, I know, I'm aware. Oh yeah, I gave her some of my hand spun to make those sleeves. And so she does well with yarn. Anyway, but so that was the major fun thing of this week is that sweater, the Triumph. It's so nice to, so part of me is like, I have this weird like need to like, I need to see everything you do and control everything you do in your knitting so that you don't do it wrong. Like I feel this feeling in me and I'm like, no, she's on her own. She's on her own journey and she's going to make mistakes and fix her. She's like, I was just fixing this problem I had here and I was like, what they should do for Master Hand Knitter is send you a messed up piece of swatch of yarn and say, fix this. Because that's another huge skill that has to take place.
Well, you know,
as I say,
with paint, many paints, if you get them in your clothing, you might as well throw it away or use that as a painting smock.
Right.
But if you catch it well before it's dry, there are ways to get it out of clothing without ruining the clothing with certain paints. And one of those is acrylic. Now, if you let the acrylic dry, it is there forever. Mm-hmm. But there are ways to get it out before it dries. And you'll see kind of a haze of it until you wash it and then it'll go away.
Yeah.
And that is just what I've learned from ruining a lot of my clothing. That being said, we had a guy, he was so sweet. He was an older man and he loved to paint. But he was a big guy. And he always came in, he lived with his mom or his sister, I don't know. Anyway, he always came in like, not dress shirts precisely, but you know, those button down shirts.
Shirts.
They're not casual. They're not t-shirts. Mm-hmm. And he'd come in those and they sent him with an apron, which he was supposed to wear whenever he painted. Now, this program was for adults in an art program with adults with developmental disabilities. And so we attempted to try to, if a parent or guardian or whatever asked us to do something like put on an apron, get them to do that before they did any painting. However, we could not make them. If they don't want to, well, you know, your sister or whatever, mom or whatever it was, really would like you to put this on before you paint. And if he wanted to, he would. And if he didn't want to, you know, what are we going to do? Not let him paint? No. So she was always angry at us about his clothes being ruined. And we tried to say, well, could you send him in something that he can wear that doesn't matter, you know? And no. And the kicker came with one day, apparently it was a brand new shirt to an art program. And there were other art things that we did, but he liked to paint. And if he wanted to paint, that's what he was going to do, right? And he put on the apron. But like I said, he was a big guy.
Yeah.
Okay? So here he is, big guy, and the apron is coming like here, right? So when he was done painting that day, you could see the outline of the apron on the shirt.
No.
And she was so angry at us because he got his shirt dirty.
Let him get his shirt dirty.
And it reminded me of Mom talking about, my mother was a first grade teacher, of Mom talking about parents who did not want their children to get dirty at school. And would send them in clothes and tell her they can't get dirty because we're going XYZ afterward. When I adopted my son, one of my happiest days was when his room smelled like dirt for the first time.
Yeah.
Because children get dirty.
Yeah.
And I remember he had on a brand new outfit. It was overalls or something. And I looked outside and he was filling it was one of those little splash pools. He's filling it with water. The dog is jumping in the water. And then he was lifting it up. He was a strong kid. Lifting it up so their backyard was kind of downhill. So that the water would go down the hill. And then he'd jump and slide down that mud. I had to hose him down before he could come inside. That mud never, ever, ever came out of that outfit.
Yeah.
Did I yell at him for getting it dirty because it was a brand new outfit?
Nope. I hope not. Maybe.
No. Because A, I saw what he was doing. And B, that out was for him to wear whenever he was doing whatever. You know, I had dress clothes to put on him. He loved dress clothes. But he never wore them outside to play. You know?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just, I have a lot of clothes that I wear even now that I'm like, okay, this is one of the shirts that has paint on it. Can I wear it where I'm going? Usually the answer is yes. Because I have a lot of clothes with paint on them. And my people used to paint me often. And it is possible to get it out if you can take the clothing off, if you can get it before it dries and all that. But ultimately, it's not that important. It's just clothes. You know, our job, they actually told us, go to the thrift store and get some outfits for here because anything can happen.
Come here, Rogue.
And a lot of the staff would go in these, like they were going to the nightclub dresses. And I'm like, and they would get really upset at the possibility that somebody would get them dirty. I'm like, why are you wearing that?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. But yeah, so
I fixed both mistakes.
yay.
I actually must run. We're gonna take a picnic up to Bartlett Lake today. So it's gonna be cold. but it'll be fun. It was Hannah's idea. We do everything Hannah says. No. You're in for a treat tonight.
Yeah.
Concert was very good.
Yeah, I was looking at I had forgotten what the program was supposed to be. It was the Tchaikovsky Pathetique.
Yeah, and a violin concerto by a new violin concerto by a guy named David Ludwig, and actually on KBOK you can go listen to them talk about it. He and his wife. His wife is the soloist. He wrote it for her, but it was really good. It was really good. And Siegfried Idle, of course. So yeah, it was a really good concert, and so you're in for a treat tonight. And this is Hannah's last weekend here. I'm sad. I'm trying really hard not to be one of those sad moms, but I'm kind of a sad mom right now. And she was talking to somebody the other day, and I heard her say, "Yeah, I live in Boston," and I'm like, I know you live there, but you don't have to say it in front of me. Anyway, so we're gonna run, but thanks for joining us for another weekend of nonsense and fun and stitching. I hope all of your projects are going well.
And I hope you guys had a great New Year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Happy New Year. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.